please welcome CEO, Great Place to Work, Michael C. Bush.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for coming. Thanks for waking up and showing up. There's only 3 people here. There's only 3 people here. You know, I have this fear that you heard me say that. So it's great to be here. We're going to have a fantastic morning, and I want to welcome all of you, and also welcome the people who are live streaming. We have people all around the world who are participating and listening, and some of them are sitting in their cubicles, looking at a screen at this live streaming, and thinking about the fact that you're here, and they're like, how come I'm not there? So I'd like you to give a round of applause to all the live streamers. And I want to let the live streamers know something. This hasn't been about a good time. That's not what's happening here in Vegas. See, this strange thing has happened. Workday cut this deal with the Amish. So they're kind of leading the process here. That's why they have work in their name. So let me tell you what's been happening. There's been no alcohol. The casinos are closed. And the reason you can't reach people between midnight and 4 a.m. is because we're making furniture with the Amish. Okay, that's what's been happening here. It's been nothing but hard work. So really, you're having a good time. The people here wish they were with you in those cubicles. Okay, but they're not. They're actually here. So we're going to spend some time this morning with some great leaders and some great companies talking about culture. This really, really important thing. We're going to talk about it in a way that you can feel it and you can learn about it. A great place to work for all, we think it should be a great place to work for all. Doesn't matter if you're on the 99th floor and you have bubbled water in your refrigerator, it should be a great place to work. It doesn't matter if you work in the basement and you drink your water out of a water faucet, it should be a great place to work. It doesn't matter if you're working in the middle of the street, splicing fiber cable at minus 30 degrees and getting water off your hip before it freezes, it should be a great place to work. Do you agree? Okay, it just doesn't matter. It should be a great place to work for all. And so that's what we want to do. That's what we want to talk about. And we're in the business of measuring that. We measure the speed of innovation within companies. We measure leadership effectiveness. We measure something called maximizing human potential to make sure everybody's having a consistently great experience, not just some people. And all of those things lead to financial growth. We believe this is better for business, better for people, better for the world. This happens to be what we believe. I think a lot of you believe that too, but if nothing else, just pick one of these. And you can change the way your employees have an experience at your company and the way your customers experience your company. So this is the way we do it. We're a surveying company. We have a survey platform called Emprising. Most of the people take our survey on a mobile app. We survey 5 million people a year, 6,000 companies a year in 58 countries. So what I'm talking to you about today isn't my opinion. It comes from the data. We've surveyed over 100 million employees. We know a lot about what employees want. And people often say, well, in 58 countries, aren't employees different? Yeah, they're culturally different, but they want the same thing. They want to be treated a certain way. These are some of the questions that we ask, just so we're on the same page in thinking about how we know what an employee is experiencing. So the first question is about this connection between a leader and people. People really want to be connected. When they're connected, they feel like they're trusted. They feel like you care about them. And that's what makes them want to give more to your company. And when they're connected, they feel safe. The second question, which is the most important about psychological, emotional, and physical safety. This is what makes somebody want to innovate on your behalf because they feel safe. The next question is about fairness, basically. Are they being treated fairly? That's what people want. And for innovation, people have to be willing to do more than their job. So they have to give something extra. That's what innovation requires. We ask to see if people have that feeling or not. And if so, they become great companies. We think it should be a great place to work if you have gray hair. It should be a great place to work if you have remarkably beautiful, unique hair. And it should be a great place to work if you have beautiful, unique hair that based on what you believe in, you cover. It should be a great place to work for all. No matter where you work, it should be a great place to work. Now, this is an environment where you need to have a lot of trust. I mean, I imagine that astronaut hanging out there in space on the end, his name is Joey. And the other person's like, hey, Joey, go ahead and let go, I got you. Now, I know 5 years ago, we never saw Timmy again. Okay, but I've been through leadership development training. It's gonna be different this time. You know, and if somehow we disconnect, I'll catch you on the next orbit. You know, Joey's like, catch me on the next orbit. All right, that's not a high trust environment. You know, Joey needs to trust the teammates. So it doesn't matter who you are, where you are, what you are in the organization, it should be a great place to work. You should be experiencing trust. That's what a great place to work for all is. So these are some of the badges, and you're gonna have, shortly I'm gonna be joined from 3 great leaders from 3 great companies that have these badges. It's Fortune's best. We're the analytical engine, the decision science engine that produces that list. So we know a lot about great places to work. And people get these badges, their employees get super excited when they get them, and we tell the world about it. Number one, it's a great reward for these great companies, but it's also inspiring to other companies. They're like, I think I'm in a great place to work. I want to tell the world about it as well. So that's the business. It gets the competition going. We believe that's better for people, better for business, and better for the world. It all starts with trust. This is what we're measuring in its purest form. So I want to talk about what that is. Leadership. People leaders define the experience for employees. They define it. And what do people expect from their leaders? They expect respect. And the way that an employee knows that you respect them is you develop them. You listen to them. You give them feedback. That's how they know. Every company says we respect our employees, but if you aren't doing those things, the employees say, I don't think it's really happening here. So that's what they expect. Credibility. People want to be informed and involved in decision making, especially decisions that affect them. That's how a leader gains credibility. This isn't about honesty and integrity. This is about, do you really value me? Well, how are you acting? Are you acting in a way, a credible way, which is, you say, my opinion matters. I want to know it matters. First of all, you need to ask me occasionally. And then I hope when you're making a decision, you're considering those things. And fairness, perhaps the most important. You can have a work environment where people are treated poorly, but the same, and people will say, all things being considered, it's a great place to work. Okay, fairness is super, super important. But when some people are getting one form of treatment and others are getting a different form of treatment, it's not a great place to work. The people. We also care about the people that we work with. And we want to enjoy the people that we work with. You know, many of you got in the shower, this morning, including those in our live stream audience, and you were psyched up about the people that you were about to be with when you got to work. You know that feeling? It's a remarkable feeling. But you don't want to be a person who you're sitting in a cubicle and you have 5 people around you in other cubicles, and every morning your ritual is like 5 bottles of 5-hour energy. This one's for Sherry. This one's for Bill. Okay? That's not enjoying the people that you work with. That just doesn't really make it happen. So this is really important. This is what makes people feel the most important thing, which is being cared for. This is the secret weapon. Underneath all the analytics, it's people, especially people who say, I don't need to be cared for. They really need to be cared for. Okay? This is super important because when people feel cared for, they feel valued and they care for other people. And the job they're doing, they're going to do it in a great way because Sherry needs me to do it in a great way. Now that's super important. It's not about, I want to hit my bonus. It's about, I want to do a good job because I'm going to hand this project to her and I want to do a good job for her. That's the power of caring. Last night, my wife and I and the president of our business, Paul Wolcott, we were walking through the casino and there was this guy passed out. And he had a Workday Rising badge. And so we looked at him and we were like, okay. And every so often he would just wake up and say, that's what I'm talking about. And then he'd go back Okay, this cat had been building a lot of furniture. Clearly. Building a lot of furniture. And so we did what any other corporate citizen would do. We leaned over and turned his name badge over. Okay? That's what we did. We took care of his brand. Okay, that's what we did. So that's what caring's all about. So why is this super important? Why is being a great place to work super important? Well, one reason, it pays. Okay, this is a chart. We have hedge funds, mutual funds built on our list. People just buy our list every year and hold on to that stock. There's stories written about people who have been doing that for 20 years and how much money they've made. These are remarkable companies who do great. Through recessions, they do great. So the data's already in. The data's in. It's better for business. This is real life. Sometimes in culture conversations, people think you can't bring up money. I love culture and I love money too. I think they fit together. I think that's how it all happens. There's no trade-off. If I, invest in my people, it might hurt my profitability. There's no trade-off. This is just the way it goes. You got a sick kid. Sooner or later, you got to take him to the doctor. That doctor wants to get paid, guess what? In money. Some of you may have been here. I've got 2 sons. I've been through all kinds of pets. We got RIPs all over the place. All right? These are tender moments. This veterinarian wants to get paid. So you can't tell these people, look, I'm a great collaborator at work. I'm a high-trust employee. Isn't that enough? They're like, I can't sign the back of that check. I want to get paid. You can't say, well, at our company, our buildings are LEED certified, and we recycle everything and have 0 waste, and I compost at home. The veterinarian and the doctor's like, hey, I want to get paid. And by the way, I heard you in Vegas. I want some of those chips. Okay? It's about better for business, better for people, and better for the world. Some of you might wonder why I have this photograph in the presentation. I just like it. It makes me feel good. Back to the numbers. So here's some more data about companies and how it pays to be a great place to work for all. We've analyzed 6,000 companies. We look at their financials. And between 2016 and 2017, we know a lot about good companies. The revenue growth was 5.5% from 2016 to 2017. Then we looked at great place to work for all companies. The revenue growth on average was 26% from 2016 to 2017. So here's what it means. If you're a good company at $100 million, next year you'll be at $105 million. That's pretty good. But this looks a little better. This looks a little better. So the data tells us, once again, it's better for business. A place that's not a great place to work for all. I hope none of you are experiencing that. Every one of us has done that at some point in our career. That's why we've moved probably to the company where we're at now. A place that's not a great place to work for all. One of your friends is down the hall getting a performance appraisal, and you kind of look through the blinds, and this is what you see. Yeah, that's what it's like at a place that's not a great place to work. But at a great place to work, for all, a place like NVIDIA, what you find is people who go crazy when they are recognized for being a great place to work, which they certainly are. This is a business who 8 years consecutively has reduced its global involuntary loss of people by 30% every year. Okay? In a hot market, a hot economy, they're approaching 3%. Okay, that's what happens with great companies. Here's another great company, Salesforce. This is a company that over 50% of its hires are referrals from its employees. That pulls their recruitment costs way down because their people are doing it for them. And what better compliment is there from a person telling somebody they care about, you should come and work here? A person putting their personal reputation on the line for that great company. Here's another one, Wegmans. Our list isn't all about tech companies. This is a supermarket chain, primarily on the eastern coast of the United States, a remarkable company with over 40,000 employees. They do this thing where they have personal profiles on each employee. They know how each employee wants to be recognized. They know the hobbies of each employee. They use these for recognition. They use them for developmental opportunities. This is a remarkable company that cares. And when people talk about service, what are the companies that know service? They talk about Disney. They talk about Four Seasons. They talk about Wegmans. These are companies that people go to those companies simply to steal their employees because they know they've been trained in an awesome way about customer service. But their employees stay with them because of what they're experiencing and how they're treated. Another company we're going to hear some about from one of the great leaders at CarMax, been on our list 14 years in a row. Here's how the people celebrate it when they get the recognition, and Quicken Loans. People go crazy. When our lists come out, we get videos. People take the day off. There's ice cream and I'm sure alcohol, but they say cold pressed juice for everybody. Yeah, that's what happens, and it's super exciting, and it really fires the company up, and the customers get the benefit. T-Mobile, another great company. I'm just sharing a little data here on what it means to be a really great company. They have a program called TOPS, where they take their frontline employees that have demonstrated excellence in customer service and put them together with their executives. And they work together for a series of months on problems to improve the customer experience, to be obsessed with the customer experience. And after that, people from the front line who were in that program, if they did a good job, they get offered a job at headquarters. Or they can stay at the job on the career path that they're on. 90% of them within a year get promoted. It's an awesome program at a great company. Wegmans, look at their numbers. Think about it. These are people who are hired at minimum wage. Usually it's their first job and get skilled up. And they're saying, we're having a remarkable experience. It's because of how they're treated. FedEx, another remarkable company. This is a company that, I always notice, let's say there's a political protest. You'll see some FedEx guy in the middle trying to deliver something. Okay, they gotta make it happen. Okay, they don't get to say, well, there's a political protest, so that doesn't work. They make it happen. They make it happen when it's 120 degrees in this city. They make it happen when it's minus 30 degrees. It doesn't matter. And this is a phenomenal company that it doesn't matter where you are, who you are, it's a great place to work. In India, for example, they sent a team of people to improve the lives of others. They sent about 23 people, and they sent 5 to a company called Jaipur Rugs, one of the largest distributors of rugs in the world from India, and they have relationships with 40,000 weavers. Well, what FedEx did was got rid of the middleman, so these 40,000 weavers could make some money, and help design a distribution facility and inventory management so they can start selling rugs into the US market. Now, that has nothing to do with delivering packages on time, every time. That's just better world, better business, and certainly better for people. That's what a remarkable company can do. I have this photo of Mike Phelps in here because, number one, I admire the work he's doing right now in terms of leadership, in terms of mental health. And also I admire what he did after he retired and decided to come back into swimming. And he took every stroke, deconstructed it, and changed the way that he swam. Now this is the greatest swimmer in history who decides, I can improve. I can be better. I can do it differently. I'm willing to let go of what I know and try something new. Take the biggest risk possible on the biggest stage. Now it paid off for him, so the story has a happy ending, but when you're in the middle of it, you don't know it's going to have a happy ending. That's what leadership is. That's what great leaders do. They're always thinking about a better way to welcome people. They're always thinking about a better way to develop people. They're always thinking about a better way to listen to people. When you're listening to people, you have to not have anything on your mind. You can't be holding on to any of your ideas. If you're holding on to your ideas, you're not listening. You're waiting for the other person's mouth to stop and move so you can make your point. That's not good. People don't like that. Okay, people want you to innovate yourself, and the way to innovate is open people up, unlock them by creating an experience they rarely have, which is you're listening to them with an open mind. That's the powerful thing. Speaking to people. How you speak to people. We all want to speak to people in a way that unlocks them, that inspires them. We want to speak to people, especially people leaders, to let people know that this job you're doing, let me tell you how important it is and what it does for the strategy of our business. You want to be connecting people to the strategy of the business all the time. When people say, I'm working too many hours, I need work-life balance, our research has proven their work has no meaning. Because when people's work have meaning, they'll work 80 hours and say, I'm tired, I'm fatigued, but that was a hell of a week. That's what happens when work has meaning. You start to hear work-life balance issues in your surveys because the work doesn't have meaning. Leaders have to speak to people in a way that creates that sense of meaning. So I was in Vegas about 30 years ago, and 3 things happened that changed my life forever. You didn't just hear anything, did you? No. Okay, good. All right, so I'm going to share one of them. I heard Zig Ziglar. If you don't know who he is, Google him. In a room much like this. And he said something that changed my life forever. He was talking about inspiration and motivation. And what he said was, people say motivation doesn't last, but it's just like bathing. And I recommend them both daily. This is important as a leader. We want to do what we have to do, whether it's meditation, going for a walk, reading a book, listen to some music, so we are inspirational all the time. You don't want to be inspirational on Monday, inspirational on Thursday. Well, this is me day. You don't get a me day if you're a people leader. You got to get your stuff together and be inspirational all the time. Because that's what a little inspiration strikes the match for a motivated person. And people motivate themselves, but it's our role to strike the match as leaders and as co-workers and colleagues. There's some people, we see it in the surveys, they're great with their customers, but they're a jerk inside the company. That's not a good thing. That's not a great place to work. We want to be great with every human being we meet all the time. And you're going to get huge benefits if you're able to do that. So what I'd like to do now is create a super opportunity for you. I'm going to invite to the stage 3 great leaders from 3 very inspirational companies. And would you like that to happen? So let me tell you something about these companies, that'll help us think about how to make motivation a daily habit. We're going to hear from a finance leader, from an IT leader, and from a chief people officer. 3 different types of leaders coming out to talk to us about culture. These companies happen to all be on the 100 best list, so they are walking the talk, and they all happen to be Workday customers. After all, it is Workday Rising. So, what I'd like you to do is help me bring to the stage, first, from Quicken Loans with 17,000 employees, been on our list 15 years in a row, the Chief People Officer from Quicken Loans, Mike Malloy. Next, from CarMax, 174 on the Fortune 500 list, celebrating its 14th consecutive year, the SVP and Chief Information Officer from CarMax, Shameen Mohammed. And finally, representing the 9,000 employees from Workday, celebrating their 4th consecutive year on our list, the Co-President and Chief Financial Officer of Workday, Robin Sisko. Good to see all of you.
Hey, Mike.
Thanks for coming. I like that suit, Shameen.
Yeah, you guys look good.
Yeah, well, we read the email. It's like, wear blue.
Apparently.
Okay. All right, so we're about to have a good time. And thanks to all of you for coming and spending this time with us and with the good people. We're going to start by talking about culture. Okay, a lot of people have different ideas what it is. But what I want to do is ask each of you to give us your experience, your feelings about what culture is, and what it means to you, and what it means to you in your specific role. So Mike, why don't we start with you as Chief People Officer?
Great, thanks so much. So look, culture is the lifeblood of any organization. No matter where you are, no matter what company you work for, Culture is the lifeblood of your organization. Everyone has something different that drives their culture. Every company has something different that is non-negotiable. Some places it's, gotta hit the P&L, gotta hit the plan. Some places it's, hey, we're gonna do good for the world. We're gonna change our environment. Some places it's our people are number one. But regardless of which one it is, if you commit and say every minute of every day, we're gonna understand that our culture is non-negotiable, that we are going to commit, we're going to work on it, we're going to say every day, we're going to state the values we believe in, we're going to continue to message that those are the things that matter, and we are going to say that those are the things that are non-negotiable in our environment. Then you start to get a great culture because you actually, as you said, walk the talk. You do the things you believe in to make sure that you're driving your culture.
Okay. And Shameen, usually when I'm at a company and I show up, the CIO leaves. Okay? Because they're like, oh, that's the culture guy, I'll see you later. All right? But that's not you. Tell us what culture means to you, and particularly in your role as CIO.
So I define culture as something invisible, yet very powerful and palpable. It's like an internal operating system, because I'm a CIO, so I have to use technology terms. So it's like internal operating system that drives how everyone in a company operates. So I'll use a short story. Before I joined CarMax, I had 4 different visits to our home office in Richmond, Virginia. So I met a lot of people, and I was really impressed by the culture of the company, the interactions, very open, collaborative, fun, friendly group of people. But before they actually, after they offered me a job and I accepted the offer, I went to a location near my home in Boston. I went as a customer, and I had interaction with the store associates. I was blown away because I felt the same level of energy, vibe, positive interaction like I did when I visited the home office. I went home and I called and I accepted the offer. To me, that is the culture. It's consistent, it's uniform across the company, and everyone is operating that way. Now that I've been with the company for a little over 6 years, I can better describe what that culture, I can define it better probably. At CarMax, there are 2 elements of our culture. One is this, we're people first, and the second is we're purpose driven. So people first, when companies talk about people first, it usually means like their customers. But at CarMax, it's how we take care of our associates, how we take care of our customers, and how we work in our communities. And to the purpose, we have a very unique purpose. All of you know we sell cars, but that's not our purpose. Our purpose is to change that industry. We fundamentally change how Americans buy and sell cars. And that's the common purpose that drives us. And so integrity and transparency into used car business. So that's how I define culture. And it's really important because as a CIO, I'm part of the overall company, and my team works within the overall company, and we must drive and behave the same culture that the overall company has.
Thank you, Shameen. And Robin, as co-president and CFO, usually when the cultural conversation begins, the CFO leads. That's not you. You actually lean in. Tell us something about that.
Yeah, as CFO, I pay a lot of attention to the things that drive our business forward, right? And people are 2/3 of our cost. And I know this is true for a lot of companies. So of course I'm going to be interested in what's the biggest thing that's driving our costs. But the bigger picture here is how important our people are, right? Without them, we don't have a business. And so I think it's part of the core of my job to really understand, right, how we can get the best out of our people, how we can make sure that they're happy and they're driving the business forward. And so that's my perspective as a CFO. And when I think about culture, I really think about it as the representation of your company's values through behaviors. And why behaviors are critical is because you can take values and put them on a wall, but that doesn't mean that that's actually the culture that you have or are driving within your business. You have to really take a look at how your people behave in the workplace and even outside of the workplace at events like this. How do they treat each other? How do they treat your customers? How do they treat anyone they interact with, as you were saying before, Michael? And that's really, really super, super critical. And it really starts with a company trying to, decide, like, what do we want to be? What's our vision? What do we stand for? And who do we want to be as a company? And if you can articulate that and really get it to stick, you can really, really drive a very deliberate vision and a very deliberate culture that will actually drive the types of behaviors that you want to see from your employees every single day.
Robin, you're a very special CFO. We were backstage, and I'm not going to name any names, but there was somebody eating energy bars like they were going out of stock. And I was like, they cost money. I was kind of feeling you, but you were just calm and relaxed. And I was like, it's only a 45-minute panel. You don't need all those energy bars. But I guess somebody's going to walk back to Detroit.
Hey, come on.
So,
I'm going to send him a bill later.
oh, okay, there you go. Yeah. I did see you pull out your smartphone.
I get those from Workday.
All right, moving right along.
Hey now.
So Robin, what kinds of things have you seen that are successful ways to ensure you have an enduring culture?
Yeah, so I think there's lots of things that you have to do, and it really starts with communication, right? So you have to make sure you're communicating your vision, your values, across the company at all levels. There's lots of ways you can do that through company meetings, emails, but the communication has to be consistent and it has to be continuous so that people really get that feed, every day. What are we about? What are we about? But I think even more importantly is it has to become the core of how you make your decisions as a company. Right? So if you think about what's most important to you as a company, if your priority is to put your employees first, you're going to make very different decisions than if your priority is to maximize your profits, right? And so you have to have your values actually drive not only your behaviors in the company, but the decisions that you make every day. And then I think finally, that has to be the case and evidence across the company and all the way up to those senior levels of the company, because the reality is when you become a manager and a leader of a company, everyone's watching you. Right? Everybody's watching you, and so if you're acting differently from what you're telling people you expect, then you're absolutely going to create a culture, but it's definitely not going to be the one that you want. So that consistency is super important.
Thank you. And Shamim, how about you?
So good culture doesn't happen accidentally, right? You actually have to be intentional. We have 200 locations, about 25,000 associates, and we're growing. So we have to be extra intentional, to make sure that we have a culture that we can be proud of, and our associates love working in our company. So as a leader of CarMax, I think about that a lot. I mean, that's the priority. Even as a CIO, I think about it a lot. And we make the communication a priority, like Robin said. So our leaders, the senior leaders, executive team, we visit our stores, our locations frequently. And every time we visit, we make sharing our mission and purpose a top priority. We reinforce the message of why we exist as a company. Also, every visit, we have an unscripted open town hall where our associates in those stores have an opportunity to ask any question of any of our leaders. So that goes to our culture of transparency and being open and frank with our associates. Also, we celebrate our stores and locations' successes through steak cookout. And I accompany our leadership team to go to various parts of the country. We actually literally cook for them. And then we serve food, and we sit around the table, and we have open dialogue. So those kind of things really tell our associates that we care about them, and we're there to listen to them, and we're available and approachable. So that makes a big impact.
Sounds like a great place to work. And Mike, how about you?
So, look, our founder and chairman, Dan Gilbert, and then our CEO, Jay Farner, our former CEO, Bill Emerson, they make my job easy. Because what Dan committed to a long time ago was what we call our isms. And for those of you out there, you can Google Quicken Loans isms, and you can see them. All of these folks have an isms book. But we have 20 value statements, known as our isms, that we constantly talk about. They are the things that are non-negotiable in our company. They are the things that every team member lives by. And so we make sure that that is never lost. How do we do that? At the first day, your orientation, we call it jumpstart. We walk through, we talk about the isms. We also talk about, how to find your parking and all those important things. But then, we have another session called, where we go through a different thing. It's called Full Throttle, now a different name. But then the most important is Dan himself, along with Jay and Bill, will spend 8 to 10 hours. Every new team member comes in, they'll have a room, something like this, not quite this big, but something like this, a big production. And they will walk through, Dan personally, will walk through why those isms are non-negotiable, what it means to work at Quicken Loans or one of our family of companies, and precisely what those things mean. And so there are a few QL folks here, I'll drop a couple isms, but the one we're talking about here is that every client, every time, no exceptions, no excuses. That's one of our isms, right? What does that mean? We commit to our team members, and they commit to our clients every time, no exceptions. How does Dan reinforce that? At Isms Day, he puts his cell phone number on the screen. He says, it is your job to call back every client, return every email within no less than 24 hours. If you can't do that, there's my phone number. Send them to me. I will call them. And he means it. How do we make sure folks live that? If that doesn't happen, we watch it. We make sure. Your coaching opportunity for not returning phone calls is not a, hey Michael, you gotta return that call. It's something, it goes all the way up to your leadership. And it says, why are you not living our ism? What is it that we can do to help you make sure that you're gonna live that ethos? And we do that not once in the lifetime of a team member, every single day. Every team member has an isms book. When we publish a new one, every team member gets a new one. Because we want to make sure it is never lost on folks that those isms, that culture, is the thing that drives our business and is the thing that drives our success.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Robin, there's a lot of people here, a lot of companies in the world who are kind of hesitant to invest in culture because they don't really know, they can't take the leap of faith that some are able to take that it's going to affect the bottom line. What kinds of things do you do, or how do you think about that, to show the bottom line impact of the investments that you make in culture?
Yeah, so we believe very strongly that if we have happy customers, happy employees, that they're going to treat our customers well, we're going to have happy customers, and that if you have happy customers, they're going to continue to do business with you, they're going to expand their relationships with you over time, and they're actually going to help you sell, right? And if all that happens, you're going to have happy shareholders because your stock price is going to go up, right? And I know you believe that too, Michael. You were talking about that earlier. And so we measure every piece of that chain to make sure that it's working the way we believe it's supposed to work. So we constantly survey our employees in lots of different ways. We take that feedback. As an executive team, we review that feedback and we look at it and we say, what are we doing well? What are we doing not so well that we have to maybe adjust and change? And it's about continuously monitoring how you're doing. Jim Bazzini announced our 98% customer satisfaction rating yesterday. I guarantee you every single employee was watching for that because everybody's incented on that number and we care very deeply about that number. And while every year we're thrilled at the results that we get, we also take that 2% and say, okay, what went wrong with that 2%, right? So it's about measuring and then holding yourselves accountable and making sure that you never feel like you're done, right? Even when you're on top of the world, recognizing that there are always things that you can do better, and you have to consistently monitor for that.
Okay. And at CarMax, how do you think about that? How do you measure the financial impact of the investments?
So, culture is an interesting thing because it's hard to measure the specific results of the culture. Like you're having great culture, but the results are fascinating. It's just hard to quantify, right? So at CarMax, we believe, just like Workday, if we have a world-class work environment, then our associates can drive or deliver a world-class experience. We've seen that since the beginning of our company. So having a very engaged workforce is our top priority. So every leader at CarMax is accountable for making sure that they have an engaged workforce. We measure it regularly. Every leader has an action plan, and we're continuously looking at how do we make our workplace a great place to work. Constantly, we're never satisfied, just like Workday is not. So at the end of the day, a good culture is simply good business. We need that to attract the talent, retain the talent, and deliver everything we need to deliver to continue to support a great experience for our customers.
Okay, and Mike, quick notes?
Yeah, so if you want all the charts and graphs and things that can prove to your less enlightened CFOs, not folks like Robin, right? Michael's book goes through all of it in great detail. But look, it's simple, right? One of our isms is money and numbers follow, they do not lead, right? We know that if our team members are fired up to come in every day, that what you talked about, right? They just love coming into work. I love coming into work. We were talking about this last night about how much we all love coming into work. If our clients love us because they feel that love that the team members give them, the companies will succeed. And you see that across industries. You talked about Wegmans, we talked about Salesforce, we talked about Workday and CarMax and Quicken Loans, right? All different industries. What do they have in common? It's a great place to work, they care for their team members, and are all about empowering those team members. What is the most amazing thing that you see from the companies on your list? They're revolutionizing industries, right?
Yeah.
All three of our companies exist to revolutionize our industries. Different industries. But because we have the culture that says it is okay to push, to dream, to fail, to do all the things that others may think are crazy, that is where you get that incredible financial success, but also the success and the pride that all the team members feel.
Okay. Shamin, I have a question for you. Retail is dying. You guys don't seem to believe that because your company's growing like crazy. You're opening 14 to 17 stores every year at a time when people are closing brick and mortar. So with the pressure that's on the industry during this time of fast growth, which is really challenging, how do you make sure that you stay focused on culture and not put it on the back burner?
So as I mentioned earlier, we have to be intentional about having a great culture. So this is not an optional thing. So this is why our leaders are measured against how engaged their associates are. This is why we have action plan. This is why we get associate feedback on a regular basis. Because we know that in order to keep up with the changing world, we need a workforce that needs to be embracing change. So when you have an engaged workforce, they are much more willing to adopt the changes and be part of the transformation. So we make this a priority. And like I said, I think about it all the time. Our leaders are held accountable, and we have action plans, and we're monitoring it constantly to make sure that we have absolutely the best and most engaged workforce.
And Mike, Quicken Loans has not revitalized Detroit; it's rebuilt Detroit. It's unbelievable.
Not by ourselves.
Not by ourselves.
With a lot of help from a lot of great folks.
That's another thing. When I talk to people from great companies, that's what always happens. Whenever I give a compliment, they deflect. They're like, "Oh, it's my team. It's my team." Well, you got a great team. Well, it's our people. It's our people. I mean, it's never. It's just a common thing. It doesn't matter. That's the automatic reaction.
Yep.
Which I think says a lot about you and about a great place to work. But with all that you have taken on, okay, with others,
yep,
rebuild that city,
yep,
and the people within that city. How do you stay focused on culture?
It is part of our culture. It is core to who we are. So we have our isms, but we have two missions at Quicken Loans, and we have what we call a family of companies. Some of you may know that our founder, Dan Gilbert, also owns the Cavaliers and has famously fought with LeBron and all those other things. But in our family of companies, we have two missions. One, we want to revolutionize every industry we're in. Two, We view ourselves as a for-more-than-profit organization. We are most assuredly a for-profit company, and our financial results are good. But our commitment is not just to the bottom line. Our commitment is to our communities as well and to our team members. And so in Detroit and in Cleveland, we reinvested and said, this is something that is critically important to us. We, in 2010, Dan and the team started buying empty skyscrapers in downtown Detroit. We now own more than 100 buildings in the central business district of Detroit, and went from occupancy in the 20s in those buildings to now 98%, to new buildings coming out of the ground, to a lot of other great companies, including a lot of your great companies, coming back to downtown Detroit because it's safe, it's clean, it's fun, there's a lot going on, it's a hip place. Michael came to visit us in Detroit in July, and we had a great time, showed him around, showed him all the things that are happening. But our team members, when you talk about how do you stay focused on culture, that is our culture. Every single team member wants to be part of something bigger than themselves. Revolutionizing their industries is something bigger than themselves, right? You know, Shamim and Robin are talking about that for their companies. But for us, right, there's also that in our community, and every team member feels that great pride in look at what we are helping to contribute to just by showing up to work and doing a great job and then trying to give back in our communities. So that's not outside of culture, that is directly related to the culture and to what our team members feel.
Okay, thank you, Mike. And Robin, Workday is 13 years old? I mean, that's remarkable. You know, if you Google Workday 14 years ago, you know what you get? Not a damn thing. Now you get Workday.com. I did it last night. All right, you know, pretty amazing, and such phenomenal growth. We do a lot of studies and research that show the thing that when companies fall down our list and fall off, it's fast growth. That's one of the leading factors. Yet that hasn't been the case. How have you done it?
Yeah, it's been hard, Michael, as you can imagine. And I think the key is to always be open to changing and adjusting as you grow, right? And when I look at Workday early days, right, David and Neil personally interviewed the first 500 employees at Workday because they wanted to make sure that they were hiring people that were going to reflect the Workday values and the Workday culture that they were trying to create. But that doesn't scale. Right now we hire several thousand people every single year, and so that just doesn't scale. So you have to continually be monitoring how things are going and be willing to adjust. And we've stumbled a few times, frankly. We noticed a couple years ago that we were starting to lose our culture as we expanded across the world. Right? We had more people layers, right, and things got more difficult. And so we decided to take some serious action, and what we did is we developed a program called our People Leadership Summit, and we brought our people managers in from all over the world. We brought them into our headquarters, and we spent 3 days just talking about culture and making sure that they understood what we expected from them as people managers, because we believe that our individual contributors are our most important employees. They're the ones that do all the work. It's not us, right? It's them, and it's all about them. And that program was so successful that we now do it annually, and we make sure that we're putting people through it that haven't been before, either because they've been hired since then or they've been promoted into management positions since then. And it's not a cheap thing to do, as you can imagine. So you have to look at these things as an investment in your culture and something that's going to have tangible payoff. And that goes back to the measuring and continually being, monitoring and measuring where you are so that you can take action. Because if we hadn't done anything, it would have been even harder to come back from what we were seeing. And I'd also encourage you to look for the small signs that something is wrong. And it was interesting for me personally because in hindsight, I feel kind of ridiculous that we didn't notice what was happening earlier. But what we started seeing, and I started noticing, and a lot of us started noticing, are small things that should have been really early warning signs to us. Things like you walk into the kitchen and someone had spilled something and not cleaned up after themselves, right? Or people not holding elevator doors for each other. And I remember thinking, wow, that never used to happen. I wonder what's going on. And that was really an early warning sign that we were not taking care of the culture in the way that we should as we grew. And we were able to recognize that and take corrective action. But these small things are, I think, are really, really telling. And so I would encourage everyone to pay attention to those, because the faster you can see when something's not going right, the easier it is to course correct and get yourself back on track.
Okay, thank you, Robin. So Shamim, as the CIO, let's talk about the role that technology plays in supporting, creating a high-trust, high-performing culture.
The technology is changing so fast that it's creating a lot of new experiences. Like, again, as you mentioned, Workday didn't exist 13 years ago. Now they're a great company. So technology is changing really, really fast. And because of those changes, customers are expecting a lot of technology because they have new experiences that are being enabled through technology. A lot of companies are not paying attention to their internal users or associates, but because they're focused more on the external customer. So at CarMax, we're laser focused on our internal associates and our external customers, because we believe that our associates need to have a great experience to deliver the great experience for our associates, for the customers. So there are a couple of things we're doing specifically to address that. One, a few years ago, we adopted a cloud-first and mobile-first strategy. By doing that, we've been able to provide our associates a similar experience that they're having outside of work in their personal lives. So very simple, intuitive, easy interfaces with technology. The mobile also is keeping things kind of simple and seamless for them. The other thing we have done is we created a user experience center of excellence within the company. And that team's focus is providing a great experience for our associates and our customer. So we're making, again, intentionality is so key. We've been intentional about providing a great experience for our associates and customers. Workday is a great example, because Workday is a cloud-based. We've been on it almost 5 years, and it really is available from anywhere. So our associates now have the tools and data and information they need about their work, which has been fascinating. The other thing is they're able to, it's always updated, right? So that's the beauty of cloud, because it's always modern, always updated. So users are not stuck with 10-year-old technology, because that's what happens in a lot of companies, and that hinders their culture. And a lot of companies also have technology that's user hostile, and that's not good for your culture either. So we take providing a simplest experience for our associates very, very seriously, and that's what we're doing it through technology.
Thank you, Shamim. Mike, what about Quicken Loans? What role is technology playing in creating a great culture?
So we often describe ourselves as a technology company that happens to do mortgages. We have continuously innovated. I told Robin and Shamim last evening, Dan Gilbert closed all of our branches and decided to go on the internet in 1998. Now think about that. The iPhone was invented in 2007, for just for context. So we've always been a technology company, but our internal systems, our systems that serve our people, have not kept up with that. And so my favorite quote I've read recently about the role of technology in today's society, that idea of mobile first, cloud first, is Tom Friedman in Thanks for Being Late talks about how Amazon and others have abstracted the complexity out of modern life, right? You click one button, something shows up at your house. They've got a 200-step workflow in between there. You click one button, something shows up at your house. How do we abstract that complexity out of the complex processes we require our team members to go through, right? And so that's what we're about. That's what we're trying to, we're in the process of rolling out Workday, right? We're going live in a couple of months here. And so that's what we're trying to work within the constraints of the system to say, how can we abstract that complexity out? How can we make things easier and better and more focused on the team member, what they need, not necessarily what I need.
Robin, how about you? Role of technology within Workday?
Yeah, it's unique for us because obviously we're using our own stuff, and we do that all the time. It's part of the core of who we are, and our philosophy around that is we don't want to ask our customers to go through anything we're not willing to go through ourselves. And we really live that every day in how we use our systems. We take all the patches 2 days before all of you get them. We try to be the first to use any new features, any new products as they come out. We do a lot of testing early days. We work with our product team to help design new features. And so we are living what we are delivering to our customers, right? And we think that's a super important connection. And the beauty of it is that because all of our employees are using Workday for HR, financials, everything, right? They feel that connection to the customer, right? And so we've got almost 10,000 people now who can give feedback, back to the product teams within the company of, hey, you know what, if this is, maybe this could be better in some way, right? And so it's really been fun for me as somebody who's used financial systems throughout my entire career to really be in a position to help shape the way that we are delivering our products and our technology to our customers.
Thank you, Robin. So Mike, all three of you have big titles, which sometimes get in the way. But I know you're people first, and moving through your company like everybody else. Describe some situations where moving through Quicken Loans, you've gotten inspired from what you've seen or experienced working with people.
Yeah. Look, I say this to our senior leadership team. We're called the Z team. I say this to them all the time. We are not the company. Our team members are the company. The folks there talking to our clients, the folks there making sure those loans get closed, they are the company. We're just here to enable what they do. So a couple of stories. One, prior to leading the Pulse team, the HR team, I led one of our businesses, our mortgage servicing business, which are the folks who you send your payment to every month, and they try to take care of your home. Well, last year, not this year's hurricane with Florence, but last year with the terrible hurricanes in the Houston area and then in the Caribbean and Florida, we were overwhelmed with calls, overwhelmed. And we had a great plan in place, and the hurricanes and the disasters kept getting worse and worse and worse. And my team members were saying, not like, hey, I got a thing, it was Labor Day weekend, and they were volunteering to work till midnight, to work all day, all night, to work on Labor Day till midnight. We're doing everything we can. And still, all the volunteers, we're getting people from other parts of the company volunteering. Hey, I will get trained. If you can train me, I'll get on the phones with our clients and help out. So we're bringing folks from our banking side who are usually selling loans. And we're getting them to help out those folks who needed our help. And even that, we're still catching up. And so I called one of our other leaders and I said, look, man, he has a team that does outsourced work for others. I said, Vic, I need help, man. I've got the calls, and our team members were helping, but our wait times are too long. These people need our help now. They got to be on the phone in 8 seconds, not 8 minutes. And Vic said, I hear you, Mike. I got folks who are in training. We're training them to do this medical stuff we do for others, but they're in their training class right now. I'll send them down to you. And they literally got up out of their seats and they walked down Woodward Avenue, which you've walked down Woodward Avenue into our site, went up the elevators, sat down, we ran some training classes, and they were helping clients that afternoon to try to make things. That's the kind of thing where you say, those folks are the company, not us who have the big titles.
That's a great story. Shamin?
So I'm inspired every single day, working for CarMax, and the passion our associates have for take care of their customers is just remarkable. Because our associates believe that they're not just selling cars; they're actually changing an industry and they're revolutionizing that. So if you think about it, buying a car is the second most expensive thing and probably one of the most stressful thing a person has to go through. And our associates are working very hard to make that experience positive, take out the stress, and they take that responsibility very, very seriously. So that inspires me a lot. The other one is, how do we take care for each other? Mike talked about the hurricane. We just had Hurricane Florence in the East Coast, and we had thousands of our associates on the direct path of the hurricane. So we stood up an emergency response center, and our number one concern was our associates. Every leader and every manager in those locations got in touch with every single associate kept in touch with them through the entire process regularly, multiple times a day, just to make sure that they're okay. And also let them know that there are help available from the company. So we're offering them $1,500 per person so that they have some funds to go and stay in a motel or get some food. So that is very inspirational. The other thing I'll say is, as a leader, I work and I benefit from having an engaged environment. The CIO job can be tough because we have so much technology change going on. Because we have such an engaged workforce, all the changes we're deploying, they're very receptive and they're supporting me. So that benefits me and my team as a technology leader. So inspirational every single day working for CarMax.
Okay, thank you, Shamim. And Robin?
Yeah, I mean, kind of like Shamim, I think it's the everyday stuff, right? It's the everyday stuff that you notice that lets you know that things are going well and you're on track. And I talked earlier about the culture and the values being the compass by which decisions are made. And I see that every day within Workday. I see just every day people trying to make decisions, and as they're discussing what decision to make, I hear things like, well, what's the right thing for the customer? Right? What's the right thing for Workday and our employees? Or just what's the right thing to do? Let's do what feels like the right thing to do. And it's those everyday behaviors that inspire me and that make it a place that I love to come in every single day.
Okay. Final question. We've got a lot of people here who are working in great companies. And some of them may have a leader or two that doesn't really get the importance of culture. They kind of are focused on other things and thinking that culture is HR's responsibility, but not their responsibility. What advice do you have to give to them that they can take back into their company to try and improve the culture?
Yeah.
Start with you, Robin.
It always amazes me when I hear people say, well, we don't have a culture. I don't care about culture, right? Because every single company has a culture. The question isn't whether you have a culture. The question is who's defining your culture, right? And so if you can have that conversation in your company about, hey, we have a culture. Everybody has a culture, right? Are you going to just let it happen? Or are you going to be intentional about it and drive a culture that is going to help your business be more successful? I've worked in a lot of different places before I landed at Workday. Looking back on my career, I think I was just searching for my right place, and it took me a little long to find it, but I finally did. And there are so many bad cultures out there that just drive behaviors that are not in line with what we're talking about, right? And a lot of the times those don't get intentionally formed, they get unintentionally formed, right? So if you can have a conversation about intentional culture versus unintentional culture, I think that helps.
Shamim?
So just a couple of example advice. First, share with your leaders who are not listening to you in terms of having a great culture, is the business value of having a great culture. I mean, there are plenty of examples. I mean, if you look at the companies that have great culture, they continue to thrive, they continue to attract good talent. So use some of the examples to make a strong case. Within your company, there are teams that are actually, they have great culture within, maybe in the pockets. Use those as an example and tell them that, hey, if everybody in the company operated the same way, how much better could we be? That would be one example. The other thing is, look at some recent losses we might have. We might have lost some associates who went to work for a company or competitor who had great culture. Use those examples to make a point that great culture is no longer an option. You need that to attract, develop, retain the talent you need to achieve your business strategy.
And Mike?
So, Michael talked before he came on about a little motivation every day, so this is my piece for you guys. Every person in this room, every person on the live stream, right? Every one of you has the choice to do what's right for yourself, do what's right for your team, do what's right for your company, for the world, right? That's the choice we have every day. My team's tagline is choose amazing, right? I talk to them every day about they have a choice to change people's lives. What are they going to choose today? So I'm going to tell you a story because the question is when you have those leaders who don't believe, right? Who just want to measure a spreadsheet instead of want to measure what really matters, right? When you have that, right, then I ask yourself, is it the right thing for me to go along with that? Am I going to operate out of fear, or am I going to operate from a place of doing the right thing? And the best version I ever heard of this was told at one of our, what we call family reunions, by a person who'd been the CEO of a very large company. And he said early in his career, he worked at a terrible company. And he was in a cube farm, and he had this sort of Dilbert-esque leader, manager, supervisor. And then there was the HR lady who was always with the supervisor. And on Fridays, the supervisor would hide in his office and send the HR lady out with a box. And if she stopped at your desk, put your stuff in the box and you were gone, you were out. And he said, so I started talking to the supervisor about ways to make the company better. And I started talking to the HR lady about why she was doing what she's doing. And he said, my friends were like, you're crazy. They're gonna fire you. And he said, maybe they will, maybe they won't, but I'm not gonna be afraid of the box. So for all of you, right, when you go back and you bring all the awesome stuff you've learned here, ask yourself, if someone else doesn't believe, are you gonna be afraid of the box, or are you gonna be a positive force for change?
Thank you, Mike. Thank you very much. You know, we were talking a little bit earlier, just kind of getting ready for the panel, and we were talking about that question. And Shamim was like, they can come work for CarMax.
Quicken Loans, we're always hiring.
Robin's like,
all of you.
You know, so you showed amazing restraint, Shamim.
That's right.
So please give a warm Workday thank you to these remarkable leaders. Okay, so now, you know, I want to share something with you. I'm a father. I have two sons that are 28 and 30 years old. And when they were young, I was at one of their soccer games, and there was another father there who had 4 kids, and I just had 2 small kids. And so I asked him some advice, you know, on being a great father. And he started telling me these things. And so I started like writing them down. Because when you're a father, you know you don't know what you're doing. Okay, and so I'm like writing down, and then he goes, oh, here's my son. And the son comes over and he goes, say hello to Mr. Bush. And the son goes, you suck. I was like, okay. You know, so my point is, you know, when you're choosing where to get your information, who to trust, who to follow, you know, you want to know that the company is walking the talk, okay? For those of you who have chosen Workday, those of you who are thinking about choosing Workday, you want to know that the company is walking the talk. These are their numbers. This is what their employees are saying. They are walking the talk. So you've got a good partner that's talking about creating a technological experience for you that will help you improve and strengthen your culture every day. You're dealing with somebody that's not only a great technology company, they know how to do this. So I'd like to welcome to the stage my good friend, Senior Vice President of People and Performance, Greg Pryor.
When Michael started with the "You Suck" piece, and I was about to walk on the stage. So, well, hello, Workday Rising. So amazing to be here. My name is Greg Pryor, and I have the incredible privilege and pleasure to look after talent internally at Workday. And so, myself and my amazing team, who's actually here in the front row, we wake up every single morning, as Robin had talked about, and said, how do we create and help create a remarkable employee experience, or we call a remarkable Workday experience, for our nearly 10,000 workmates around the world, many of whom are in this arena, and hopefully all the rest who are actually on the live cast today. So shout out to all of my workmates on the live cast. So what I wanted to do today was actually talk about some of the very specific tools that Robin talked about that we all have in our toolbox to create remarkable employee experiences, to create the types of cultures where we all can work at these amazing, amazing companies, be great places to work for all. And so where do we begin? And so my friend Michael Bush, who's a great inspiration and great friend and great coach, reminds me every time when I ask him that, I say, we begin with listening to our people, right? That's where it really all starts. And so how can we do that, using our Workday capability? So every one of us, we all have the ability to use our survey capability in Workday. And that allows us to very frequently and easily capture our employee sentiment. In fact, as Robin just talked about a couple of moments ago, we actually survey our entire workforce every Friday. So every Friday at Workday is Feedback Friday. We simply do that by taking 2 of Michael's Great Place to Work questions. We put it in Workday survey, and then on everyone's mobile phone, they can instantly take about 30 seconds on Friday morning and let us know how they are feeling. What does their Workday experience looks like? And so that enables us and enables all of us as Workday customers to have really hundreds of thousands of data points that come flooding in, that we can really see what the experience is for everyone. And so what can we all do with those insights? How do we use Workday technology to be a great place to work for all? And so with Prism Data Discovery, specifically through Prism Analytics, all of us can instantly be able to see what the employee experience looks like in a very granular way and compare that, the employee experience, to all sorts of other demographic data. How do we make sure, at Workday, we happen to use Michael's 13th focus area. He's helped us understand exactly what those moments that matter should look like for our workforce. And so what we do is we actually take those 13 focus areas, and what's so important is we can look by gender. Are men and women having similar experiences? We can look by generation. Are Gen Zs, are millennials, are Gen Xers, are baby boomers having similar experiences? Across geographies, is the experience in Paris the same as it is in Pleasanton? And we all have the power to use that technology. Robin talked about, and she is 1,000% right, as always, my good friend Robin. A few years ago, we started to lose our way. We didn't see the weak signals that were telling us that we were seeing a little bit of a dilution in our employee experience. And so we use our own technology. We have the ability to use Workday Data Discovery to help understand exactly what that looks like. And because we happen to use Workday Learning, we can look at that experience related to training programs. So we compare people who go through our People Leader program, the one that Robin talked about. What's the experience of our employees related to those people who went to that program? And we can compare the effect of that. We can also look at sales data and performance data, and we can pull in things like sales achievement into Prism and see, are people who are having a better employee experience performing better? What's the relationship between those 2 items? And that's a power that we all have, in our Workday toolbox to be able to do that. And so we found all these incredible insights. We have them all, a treasure trove of insights. And so what we all have the ability to do is to apply that using Workday campaigns. So we practice what we call sort of behavioral nudges. So we take those insights and we pre-establish them into Workday campaigns, and we let Workday campaigns actually send and coach and nudge our employees so that they can actually see, how can I get better every day? And we all of us as Workday customers have that capability to help set all of our people leaders up for success. And we also want our leaders. Robin talked about our entire leadership team having the capability literally in their hands. And so the use of our workforce scorecards is something that if you're not yet using as a Workday customer, I would encourage you to go and take some time to learn more about. So you're able to put all of these incredible experiences, to let each of your leaders know exactly what the employee sentiment looks like, to know exactly where are the opportunities to improve, and to celebrate where they're doing absolutely amazing work. They can quickly review key metrics indicators about the employee experience across their organization. And so we need to share this data as well in consumable ways out to all of our employees. And so yesterday, Peach Slamp and team talked about live pages. And how do we actually use live pages to create consumable ways, pre-established presentations that capture that employee experience, that allow us, because it's Workday and it's the power of Workday technology, when any one of our leaders, like our amazing CIO, Diana McKenzie, opens up her employee experience live page, it automatically brings in all of her data. Yes, I did just say automatically, for those who are wondering. Yes, it automatically brings that data into Workday.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you.
Thank you. I think that was live pages in action. It was telling me you're out of time, drive on. So we can actually use that data, and our leaders can take that data immediately by pulling that out of Workday and share it at an all-hands meeting. Go ahead and share it at a town hall. Any one of our customers can use live pages data and immediately have, beautifully prepared presentation material to share at a team meeting or share on with some of their other folks. And so we know and we love, and data and reporting is incredibly powerful. But we actually believe that the future is about telling stories. And so Pete yesterday shared a little bit about this very powerful future of augmented analytics. And so we are super, super excited about, as we look forward, the power of Workday taking that employee sentiment data that Robin talked about, that our leaders really want, and being able to put it in the context of stories. And so with the power of Workday People Analytics, we can actually ask ourselves those questions. Where are our opportunities to improve? How is our employee experience affecting our attrition rate? How is it looking, where are those areas where we're trending up and we've improved, in our case, over the last 17 weeks since we asked that question? And where are those areas we can get inspiration? Which particular geographies, which particular leaders, which particular areas are doing an amazing job in this space? And if I have the opportunity to improve, I can go over and I can ask Robin, you're doing an amazing job in this space. How can you help me learn and be better? And so the power of using this data, of having stories delivered directly to our leaders, is something that we all now have to really create the type of employee experience that Michael and the three leaders just talked about. And we really believe that that helps us make better business decisions, to help we have these tools in our hands to help us be great places to work for all, across genders, across geographies, across generations, making sure that, as Robin talked about, if there are weak signals out there, that we're on them early and we can proactively make sure that we're being a great place to work for all. And so all of this innovation would actually not be possible at all if it was not for the incredible collaboration, for the incredible inspiration that all of our customers provide us every day. And so in addition to our customers, our great partners, and helping us always think about how we're brainstorming, how we're building new innovation, how we're applying the amazing technology that we all have in our hands as Workday customers. And so speaking of great partners, what I'd like to do is invite my friend Michael Bush back onto the stage, because we actually have a little announcement that we're happy to share with our entire Workday Rising crowd. Michael, why don't you come back out on stage, my friend? So Michael, we have been collaborating for about the last 2 years. You've been inspiring and pushing us to use the data to understand how we can be a great place to work for all. We're very proud and pleased that that the list that you put together have recognized us with that, and based on that hard work. And what I am thrilled to announce today is that we've engaged in a partnership so that all Workday customers can build a relationship with you all at Great Place to Work and use some of the benchmarks and the technology and the questions used on Workday to be able to create great places to work. So this is the first announcement of a partnership with Great Place to Work to let every one of our Workday customers please just say that to be a great place to work for all. So more exciting things to come on that.
Yeah. So great.
Yeah. That was it. That's how I got to the end.
That was it? By the way,
that was very skillful when the voice of God came through.
I
mean, you were just.
I hear the voice of God all the time.
You know, I see a little sweat, but you pulled it off. It was awesome. But you know what? I think we're forgetting something.
We are.
Yeah, I know you look nervous. You're like, uh-oh. Okay, but we're forgetting something. It's actually what I see you do every time I'm with you at Workday and we're moving through and you're walking past the people at Workday.
And so you are very kind, and I do. And of course, being here on the big stage, I forgot what I do every day. And that's most importantly to thank our workmates, to thank our customers, to thank our amazing partners. And so we want to make sure that we end today's session by thanking everyone, by really thanking all of us who go ahead and support 31 million users. We all have in the power of our hands, through the power of Workday and our relationships, the ability to do that. So here's what we'd like to do, if it's all right with you, my friend.
Sounds good.
What we would like to do is we would like you to stand up and be recognized, if you help your coworkers create better workdays through the use of Workday technology. I would want you to stand up. So please stand up and be recognized. Round of applause. If you wake up every day and help your colleagues